Why, hey there. Hello, everyone. It's GleeCon, and I'm back bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Thanks a lot for clicking, for tuning in. This is a show where we cover everything in the universe, canon and not, game and lore. We have been, on the game side, playing through World of Warcraft Classic a lot, but I've been dipping back into some of the non-canon lore that got us there. So one of the non-canon big projects that used to exist was the World of Warcraft Encyclopedia, and it contains little entries into different people throughout the franchise. A big chunk of them happened during the War of the Ancients, one of the most lore-dense sections of the kind of ancient lore that led up to the Warcraft series. And we've done this once before. We're going to do it again tonight, where we have a little bit of a twofer because the entries are quite short. So stay a while and listen as we jump into Kur'talos Ravencrest and another one on Latosius right after that. But we're going to start with Kur'talos Ravencrest. We've talked about him some on some of the past episodes. He was basically the leader of the forces for the Night Elf army, ostensibly under Azshara's control, but he is not a bad guy, and because of that, he was assassinated because he decided to fight the demons that Azshara was helping summon. Lord Kur'talos Ravencrest was the initial commander of the Night Elf army that fought the first invasion of the Warcraft Encyclopedia / Burning Legion, the first invasion of the Burning Legion. I don't know why they have that. Okay, so there's only two entries on this guy in that old encyclopedia. The first is called The Nature of Nobility. The Ravencrest clan was a noble one, but it was not of the Highborn caste. On the contrary, Kur'talos, like most of the Night Elf populace, regarded the Highborn with suspicion and dislike because of their arcane affinity. The Ravencrest section is something that you can also play through in Legion if you want to look at his now defunct estate. He was a level-headed man, a skilled warrior, and an inspiring leader on the battlefield. It was a matter of both honor and practicality for him to fight alongside his soldiers. His presence inspired others to greater feats of courage and skill. Even so, Kur'talos had many of the ancient Night Elves' prejudices against other races. He rejected any suggestion of asking the Earthen or Tauren for help. Furthermore, he considered dragons extremely powerful, but he believed they would simply devour any mortal envoys. He therefore refused to permit any Night Elves to appeal to the dragons for assistance in fighting the Legion. So there's some flawedness there. He didn't quite... They probably couldn't have won under him because they required the aid of all those people. And the second and final entry for him is his unexpected treachery. Not the treachery he committed, but the treachery that led to his demise. Kur'talos was deeply loyal to Queen Azshara and could not believe she'd been involved in the Burning Legion's arrival on Azeroth. Indeed, he led the Night Elf forces against the demons into battle time and again, shouting the Queen's name as a rallying cry. Ironically, it was Azshara who eventually ordered her second-in-command, Captain Verothin, to eliminate Kur'talos. Having given her loyalty to Sargeras, ruler of the Legion, Azshara was irritated by the Night Elf army's continued opposition to the Legion, which divided the Legion's forces and delayed Sargeras from successfully entering Azeroth. Eager to please his queen, Verothin dispatched a soldier to the battlefront. The orc Broxigar spotted the assassin and tried to warn Kur'talos, but his warning came too late. The assassin stabbed Kur'talos through the back of the neck before attempting to flee. Broxigar swiftly caught up to the assassin and slew him in turn. Lord Desdal Stareye, who had been Kur'talos' second-in-command, succeeded Kur'talos as commander of the Night Elf Defenders. We already read his entry. That leadership of his did not last long. All right, so we're also going to cover Latosius, another person that was important in this story, but only in this story. So in the greater Warcraft lore, doesn't have a ton of things surrounding him, which is why he only has two short entries also. Latosius was one of the senior members of the Moon Guard when the War of the Ancients began. An elderly night elf, he had practiced sorcery for a very long time, and he considered himself one of the foremost spellcasters of his order. His first entry is called Inconceivable Misfortune. He was one of the sorcerers dispatched to Blackrook Hold, the fortress of Lord Kur'talos Ravencrest. Again, you can find that in Legion, in order to interrogate the prisoners Malfuri and Stormrage, Broxigar, and Ronin. Time-traveling people, those were, well, two of them. Malfurion told a wild-sounding story about how the Highborn were abusing the Well of Eternity. Like many lower-caste Night Elves, Latosius was willing to believe ill of the Highborn. Like most of Night Elf society, though, he did not regard Queen Azshara in the same negative light, despite the fact that she too belonged to the Highborn. When the Burning Legion and its mortal allies managed to restrict access to the well, the disruption brought an abrupt end to Latosius' magical interrogation of Malfurion. The Moonguard tried repeatedly to restart the interrogation, but their spells failed without direct access to the well's energies. Latosius was frightened and furious. And his final entry is called A Valiant End. Messengers began arriving at Blackrock Hold with even worse news. Demonic invaders were attacking Zin-Azshara. Kur'talos and his soldiers were convinced that the queen had become a prisoner in her own palace. They therefore set out for Zin-Azshara to free her and defeat the demons. Although the Moonguard's magical abilities were greatly diminished, Latosius and his comrades accompanied the army. The war escalated, and as the highest-ranking sorcerer, Latosius assumed leadership of the Moonguard and directed their efforts on the battlefield. However, several other defenders later remarked that Latosius seemed to focus too much on minor details rather than the bigger picture. Eventually, the elderly sorcerer was caught off guard and killed by an Eredar warlock spell. Just some rando NPC mob just took him out. That goes to show you his place in the tale. Ronan avenged Latosius' death by killing the warlock responsible. By the time Ronan had done so, Illidan Stormrage was already crossing the battlefield toward the remaining Moonguard. Illidan, though not a member of their order, clearly had superior magical talent, and he proved much better than Latosius at coordinating the Moonguard's efforts. So, in the same way that Ravencrest was supplanted by, eventually, Jared's Shadow Song, Illidan Stormrage, an epic hero, basically took over Latosius' spot for what that was worth. His order was soon to become disbanded and basically outcast anyway, because arcane magic was no bueno for the Night Elves after this war. Okay, thank you everybody so much for watching and for listening and for tuning in. I appreciate it, for giving me some of these bite-sized ones when I'm in the thick of the work week, and we got some longer ones coming up ahead. Thank you guys. I'll see you on the next episode of Lore of Warcraft.